Hey everyone, I just want to do a quick video. Probably won't be quick if you look at the actual time on the video, but we'll see how it is. But I just want to talk a little bit about what I think is perhaps the best of all the awakening skills. Now, of course, that is my opinion, but I am going to talk about, I think, a few of the reasons why this is just such a good skill and just such a game changer. Like, I think out of all the awakening skills, this is clearly the most dominant, and I do personally think if you have access to this on sword, you should put it on sword. I know that there's been some arguments where people are like, no, I think it would be better if you run like Fort Leap and Stun Hit, which is totally a viable build. And you don't really need to run Spinning Rising Slash. That might be partially true, but again, I'll go into my arguments and why I think like you really should. First, let's start with some niche aspects about SRS, not necessarily, because there are three main things I want to get into, and those are the damage, break, and endurance, in that order. But before I get into those, I want to mention some niche aspects about SRS, which also make it good. One, it's around frame 19. This hits around frame 19. What does that mean? Well, it means that generally speaking, it'll beat most stun skills when used at the same time. Even if used a little bit later, it'll generally beat most stun skills, especially because they're red armor. And the first one, I think the first hit does like 4 bars of break, so it'll break red instantly on the first hit. Each hit breaks red. So it'll break basically all red skills. I think even up close stun hit still loses to. Actually, that looked even faster than frame 19. I have to look at the close hitbox on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if this skill comes out even faster up close. But generally speaking, it's a pretty fast skill, especially even for sword. Alright, so it's fast. Has very little animation lock actually on it. In fact, the only animation lock, as far as I know, is at the very beginning first swing. And as you can see, you can shift out of any point outside that first swing. So I'm animation lock here, and then not any other point. So I can shift on the second swing, I can shift on the third swing, I can shift on the fourth swing as well. So there's not really any animation lock outside of that first one, but that first swing is already so fast that, to be honest, by the time you even, like, I was still able to shift pretty early despite the animation lock there, so it's really not that bad. And then in terms of actual end lag, there is none. You basically can act out instantly as soon as that last hit goes. Right? Like, you can do a WWLMB, you can do a shift attack. I think there's some cases where you can even just do like an LMB. Yeah, I mean, you can just follow up with an LMB because it doesn't launch them very far. It just launches them basically straight up. You can even, if you had Fort available still, you could even just like Fort, and then I'm pretty sure you probably could even jump LMB. Might be a bit stricter timing, but yeah, maybe a stricter timing on that one. But you can do a lot off of it basically, and jump LMB would be a bad idea anyway. But so very little end lag, very little animation lock, very fast, and you can really follow up with basically just about anything off of it. It also basically gives you the infinite blade sword, like it actually does, because one of the things to note about this skill in particular is when you have ult 2 activated on sword, doesn't actually increase the range of this at all, because it actually uses this sword already. So you basically get a range increase on a move that I don't even know if it was supposed to have it or not, but you basically get access to a mini ult 2 at all times through that skill, which is kind of interesting to note. Also, other thing to note, this skill, I did do some actual testing, despite some skepticism prior to the testing. This skill does scale with height. I also believe it might scale with gender. I do think males actually have a better hitbox on this. I haven't verified that part completely, but I do know, and I have completely verified, if you are taller, this will go further. The vertical might be the same, or very close to the same, I'm not really sure, but the horizontal hitbox of this will be much wider. So you will be able to hit people from much further away, the taller you are. So that is one thing to keep in mind as well. So it scales off of height, again, super fast, very low animation lock. You can basically do anything off of it. Now let's go into the 3 big things. And those are already some pretty good things. Generally you want those in skills, by the way. You want a lot of freedom in your skills. You don't want high animation lock or animation lag or end lag. You want skills that are fast, quick, and safe. And if you already have a skill like that, you're probably already on board to being a pretty good skill. But let's go into the big 3 topics, alright? So first, let's start the damage. The skill, despite being nerfed, actually still does pretty decent damage, especially for a breaker, especially if you get the crits in. I mean, that one did 4k already. So, what was that, 2 crits, I think? That one does 3k. I think on average it does around 3.5k, but as soon as you get 2 crits, it goes to 4, and a crit does matter on this skill, because every single hit that crits, you can literally get 5k, I think, still, if you're lucky. So that was no crits, it was 3.2k. There's another 4k. I want to see if I can get what the highest damage roll. I want to see if I can get a 5k. Don't think it's going to happen, because it requires me getting high damage numbers and crits. But it only takes 2 crits to get 4k. And believe it or not, that happens more than you'd think. Alright, I'll give it 2 more times. Another 4k. Yeah. Alright, so I wasn't able to get high damage numbers, but also keep in mind that's the damage on a breaker, so when it's on a Slayer, it's not quite double that, maybe like 1.5 times that. I've been able to still do like 5, 6k on a Slayer, which again, for a breaker is kind of insane. I'm pretty sure even if I just do like a combo like this, might not be true. I didn't mean to do that there. Like, the damage that you can get from this skill is kind of ridiculous. Like, that was a 10k combo off of just a WWLMB launcher, and I think my SRS was non-crit anyway, or very low damage roll. Like, the amount of damage you can actually get off this is kind of disgusting. I messed up there. And like, even if you aren't able to do a complete combo, you can basically secure yourself like 5, 6k damage just based off on that skill alone. I mean, yeah, look at that, 11k. I actually would have started to trigger the red bar there. Wait, 11k is approximately slightly less than half their health bar, by the way. So breakers are almost able to do half your health bar off of one combo with one skill, basically, which is insane to think about. And again, I could always switch to Slayer after using that if I did have a Slayer, and it just adds on. So it's already a lot of damage, decent amount, but again, that's honestly not its worst quality, or I guess I should say it's not its best quality. Its damage isn't even its best thing, but it still does decent damage, especially for being a breaker. Let's move on to the actual break. Another thing that was nerfed, by the way. In fact, all 3 of the major things were nerfed, but are still very powerful. Each hit originally I think did like almost 7 bars. I think the first 2 did 7 bars, and then the last 2 did like 14. I believe it's lowered now to 4 and 12 respectively. I think the last 2 hits still do like 12 bars of break approximately. It still does a shit ton of break, okay? This will break, again, basically anything. It'll break all purple skills, normal purple skills. You look at a Storm Slash, I mean, it breaks it on the 3rd. Go for like, I don't even know, what else would there be? Hammer Smash, maybe. We'll try it on a Hammer Smash. Oh, the bot didn't activate it. Hold up. Yeah, I mean, it breaks down 3rd. In fact, we can even try it on Judgment, because Judgment's actually slow enough. I wouldn't be surprised if it does break it. No, it doesn't quite. But I think it does. Oh, no, not quite. Yeah, actually, Judgment is, funny enough, one of the only skills that actually does good against SRS, and that's strictly just because it has high endurance. But of course, you realize it doesn't actually do good because I don't have any animation lock, so I just do that and then I stun hit you or something. So not that great. Anyway, it still does insane break. I think it's like 20 bars plus or something like that. It's again, it's absolutely something insane. Breaks basically every purple skill in the game. And what makes it worse is the next part I'll talk about, which is its endurance. So again, damage already pretty good. Break decently high. Again, breaks every purple. Like if we talk about again, let's talk about shield. Shield doesn't have any skill that can tank it, I guess, outside of counter, if you really want to call it that. No other skill can tank the entirety of SRS on shield. What about scythe? Also nothing. Nothing on here can tank SRS completely. What about on hammer? Hammer's only skill that can tank it is judgment. Fist, absolutely nothing can tank it. GR can break it before, but of course, again, that won't matter when I get into the next point. And then on sword, literally, I think only Fort plus Storm Slash. I think Fort plus Storm Slash can tank it, and Fort, obviously, Fort SRS, which I'll get into. Yes, so the last part, and perhaps the most notorious aspect of SRS is the Fortitude Amplifier, or multiplier, rather, that exists. So generally, if you do not know already, Fortitude is at minimum a 2.5 times multiplier. It's somewhere in the range. It depends. It varies from skill to skill, but it's around 2.5 to 3 times the base endurance of that skill. So for example, if you look at stun hit is approximately, I think it's like 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 bars of endurance, right? So it's around 3.5 then. So you do 3.5 times around 2.5 or 3, and you see that it goes to almost 10, which kind of makes sense because 3 times 3 would be 9, so 3.5 times 3 would be, but it's somewhere in between. So it would be close to 10, which it is. So it's a multiplier, and what does that mean? It means the higher the base number of your skill, the higher the actual multiplier is, or the higher the end result is going to be once you multiply it through. And so what does that mean? Well, SRS actually used to have even more endurance than it already had, and again, like I said, all these 3 things were things that were nerfed. Well, SRS, as I believe, still has around 15 bars of endurance. It might be 15 or 16, I'm not exactly too sure. And I don't really remember what its multiplier is, but I believe it ends up being with Fortitude, for SRS, ends up being around 42 bars of endurance, I think, maybe slightly more. I think it's like 42.5. It's a minimum, I think, of 42. So you have 42 bars of endurance. There isn't a single skill in the game that can break that, and I actually mean that literally. Counter? I mean, I can go through the list. There is nothing here that can break it. Double casted stun hit. We tested this with a Fort stun hit. I tested it with a friend yesterday. A Fort double cast stun hit by one person will not be enough to break a Fort SRS. In fact, it would literally take, assuming 2 people casted stun hits, it would literally take 2 people casting stun hits, one of them having to cast or double cast it. So basically 3 mana bars to your 2 mana bars, which is insane. Outside of that, nothing else on here can break a Fort SRS. Absolutely nothing. Nothing on which could ever. Nothing on. I think even ult 2, which COE probably wouldn't be able to break it. Would do a lot of damage to it, but I don't think it'd break it. Nothing on bow, absolutely nothing on shield. Its highest break counter cannot do it. Even like a counter and a charge, it won't do it, I don't think. Well, you probably get broken before you can even do the charge anyway, so yeah, probably not. Nothing on DS that can do it. Blazing Fist, absolutely nothing. Your GR will do absolutely nothing to it. I think even GR into like an ultimate heat probably won't be enough, because ultimate heat is less than stun hit. Even ultimate GR into Blazing Strike, yeah, I don't think it won't be enough. Nothing on Hammer will break it. Absolutely nothing. Nothing here. Maybe if you bug out Ice Trap, but I forget if you can still do that. Absolutely nothing on Scythe. Nothing on Orb. Nothing on Kunai. Obviously, I'm not talking about ults. I know ults can do, they break basically about anything. Some ult 2s do as well, but it's just an insane amount of endurance that you get from this. You basically become unbreakable in neutral. So you're unbreakable, do a lot of break, have a lot of damage. This is big because it basically means that you get to, when you have 4 and SRS up, you are at an advantage. You literally cannot be pushed. Nobody can pressure you in this outside of maybe like long range poke. Nobody can go in on you though. Uh, Obviously, again, the arguments I've heard for this skill not being as good as it could be is that it's not an instant catch skill, right? Like if this connects and it breaks, they get caught. That's it. That's a combo starter. If they get broken by this, they can still shift out, right? Well, that is true, but it's a skill that's kind of used for pushing advantage. So if they burn their shift, which by the way, depending on how they burn it, you might have to respect the skill because people can get frame trapped, especially if you're in the corner, and especially if I'm like a really tall character, which this character is like kind of on the taller side anyway. You can get frame trapped by this. And so generally what you have to do in a lot of cases, unfortunately, is you actually have to respect the first 3 hits of it. Like if I were to make the bot do it, I think there probably is a way you could time your shift on like the first or second swing, but it might not be worth it. Like you can get frame trapped just like that. Now obviously there was no wall behind me, so I would just want to go this way. But if there was a wall behind me and the only direction I could move was maybe slightly to the left, slightly to the right, or forward, I mean, like, I would be in a very disadvantageous situation there where I might just get frame trapped. And so generally what you have to do then is just take the first 3 hits and then just respect it. And even if you take the first 3, I mean, you're still taking potentially around 2k, 3k damage depending on if they crit. I want to see if I can get a higher damage. Yeah, doesn't look like it. But you can get like, you're still taking like 2 to 3k damage, and you just have to respect that because you can't really do anything in a lot of cases because the range is insane and you're just susceptible to being frame trapped. Especially because those last 2 hits, more so than anything, are going to do a lot more breaks. So even if you do shift and you want to pop a skill or something like that, good chance you'll be broken because the last 2 hits alone can break most purple skills. Because again, I think they each do like 7 or 12, or sorry, yeah, I think it's like 12 bars of break on each, which is like more than enough to break a purple skill. In fact, I'm pretty sure just one of the last, let me see. No, okay, not quite. So I think it is actually 4 and then 7 for the last, but it's still an insane amount of break. The last 2 will just break purple skills alone. So again, you have to respect the skill. You will probably burn your shift against the skill if you don't have a way of contesting it, which most karmas outside of sword do not have a way to contest the skill, especially when it's forted. I will say non-forted SRS definitely isn't as scary, but it definitely has its usage, especially against other sword players or even other things. If you know you can tank it, I mean, this is like a good panic move per sword because you can honestly just use it to tank anything. Like, oh, this person has stun hit and leap. I can just, if I see them leap or I think they're gonna cast a skill, I just do this. If they try to leap on me, I tank it. If they try to stun hit me, I probably break them beforehand. So I don't really have to worry about anything. Again, you tank a lot of skills, like a lot of skills, and you never have to burn your shift because you already have so much endurance. And you don't have much end lag, so it's really good. And then again, you fort it, and you become unstoppable. Like nobody can break you. So this also means that it's really good anti-peel if you're already comboing somebody, especially you can pop for it, and then if somebody tries to come in, if somebody leaps on you, like right now, like this is just free. It's literally all free. They can't stop that. There's just so much you can do and so much you can pressure with this skill, especially if you can get an enemy into a corner. I even said it when the skill first came out. It's just it's just an enhanced and improved version of Storm Slash in every way, in every shape, in every form. The only downside to it maybe is that it's shorter, but generally because of how combo limit works in this meta, you want skills to be shorter. You want them to do a lot of damage in a short amount of time, basically burst damage, and that's exactly what this skill serves for sword. It's just a better, faster, more powerful, higher endurance, higher break Storm Slash, and I think you should have that in your kit, especially because if you want to have the highest endurance in the battlefield, or if you ever want to just not be broken in the middle of a match, if you're like, oh, maybe the enemy will break me, I don't really want that to happen. You just press 2 skills, and you're like, okay, well now you can't be broken. And I don't know about you, but yes, even though I might be sacrificing a skill that can win me neutral instantly, having the ability to be so safe that I literally can't be broken, like literally having the ability to just press 2 skills and not have to worry about being broken for a couple of seconds is kind of insane. I think if you asked anybody, would you want a skill that allows you to never or not be broken for like 3 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds, I think everybody would say yes, because that would be an insanely powerful skill. Especially if you told them, also it has decent break, also has decent damage, everybody would raise their hand and be like, oh yes, I want a skill like that for my karma. And guess what? Sword has it. It's called SRS. It is just super good, super powerful. You can't contest it. Best thing you can do, literally the only thing you can do against this, especially if it's forted, is poke it. Just make sure you're out of the range and poke it down. And it's just, and even then, like, it's risky if you're in Slayer. Their teammate's already probably pressuring you, so just hope you're never in range for this. And if they do get close enough, hope to God you are on sword or you have some way of getting out, and that you're not gonna get screwed by the terrain or a wall in any way, shape, or form, because this skill is a threat in every way. Again, it beats just about everything. That's about all I wanted to talk about. I really do think you should run this skill. As you can see, my skill build, this is one of the ones you can play. If you want a high break skill build, I think this is what you would want to run, SRS, Fort, and Stun Hit. If you want a high endurance one, though, where you actually want to become even more unbreakable, I actually recommend running Leap instead, because Fort Leap also makes you immune to stun hits, at least first cast. So you become stun hit immunable not only through this, but also through this. So you get literally, this is the most endurance skill build you can get in the game. Like literally, I mean, I guess technically it's not. Like technically, I think Fort Storm Slash is slightly more than Fort Leap. I forget though, because they did buff Leap Endurance. I thought it's in line with Storm Slash, so they might be the same. But I mean, Fort Leap was way more useful than a Fort Storm Slash, to be honest, especially if you already have SRS. So like those are 2 skill builds that I think you could run. I think either one is totally fine. Some people do think Stun Hit's better than Leap. I could totally see that argument. Some people think Leap's better than Stun Hit. I can see that argument as well. I think that SRS though is just like a must. Like if you can have it, if you do have it, I think you should be running it. I don't see why you shouldn't, because it's just too good to leave behind. It just does so much damage, has so much pressure. It's a panic skill. You can use it in basically any situation, and it's probably fine. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's a safe skill. It's honestly, it's kind of having like a second rage break in some senses, where you can just like go in and know that you will be safe and you won't be broken. You might take damage, but you won't be broken. You'll never be broken. You will always either win or contest the neutral with this skill, with Fort as well. Yeah, so that's about all my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed. I might talk about some of the other awakening skills as well, maybe the fist one or even the witch one, because I know that the witch one a lot of people think is very problematic, and I'll get maybe more in depth into that. Also, I do believe at the time I'm uploading this, the announcement for the next season has come out. I'm kind of surprised. I really thought they were going to get all the awakenings out before then, but I guess they don't want to delay it any longer. But we'll see. Cannon and Scythe's Awakening, I assume, is coming out with the season starting. I have no idea. But we'll see how that goes. See how Scythe's Awakening is, because that's going to be really important to see how it changes in the meta. Also, don't know if they'll be doing any balance changes. Maybe they will. Excuse me. And we'll see how that goes. But again, thank you guys for watching, and if you want to see me talk about Circle of Elements on Witch, or I think it's called Blazing Strike on the Fist, I will gladly do so. Anyway guys, see ya.